hello. I'm so glad that you are here, whether it's in person at Friendly House or virtually over Zoom. I'm Helen Christians, and I will be your MC this morning. Welcome to this very special Humanists of Greater Portland meeting. It's our honor to hear the 7 HGP scholarship winners read their essays. To allow for time for the readings and a few questions, our meeting may run a few minutes beyond our usual 11:30 closing. It is such a gift that these graduates are willing to take the time to share their thoughts with us. I just don't want to rush this very special meeting. HGP is an all-volunteer group that believes strongly in freedom of speech. The Humanists of Greater Portland is a chapter of the American Humanist Association. Humanism is an outlook or system of thought attaching primary importance to human experiences rather than supernatural matters. Humanists believe in the worth and goodness of all people and seek to find common values and respect among people. Humanists stay curious and open as they seek rational ways to solve problems in their local communities as well as worldwide by listening to others and speaking their own truth to find equitable solutions through science, reason, and free inquiry. I would now like to welcome Kathy Humble, who is the chair of the scholarship committee, to do today's reading. Thank you, Kathy, for all your hard work and for the committee's hard work. Come on in.
Thank you. Today, to allow as much time as possible for our scholarship winners, I'll limit this reading to a few words spoken over the years by famous people when they were guest commencement speakers at famous colleges. At Tufts University in 1987, here's activist Gloria Steinem. As Margaret Mead once said, marriage worked well in the 19th century because people only lived to be 50. Because life expectancy has increased about 30 years since 1900, there are bound to be different ways of living. As the prison of form diminishes, we can pay more attention to content. That means equal power between partners and thus the possibility of free choice. That means commitment out of decision, not desperation or pressure. That means kindness, empathy, and nurturing. The point is less what we choose than that we have the power to make a choice. Then at Stanford in 2005, tech entrepreneur Steve Jobs said, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking, don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it." And here are lines at Harvard in 2013 from Oprah Winfrey, who cannot be defined with a single word. "Learn from every mistake because every experience, encounter, and particularly your mistakes are there to teach you and force you into being more who you are. And then figure out what is the next right move. And the key to life is to develop an internal, moral, emotional GPS that can tell you which way to go." And now for our scholarship winners. Each year since 2012, Humanists of Greater Portland has conducted a scholarship contest for public school seniors in the Portland metropolitan area. Various amounts are awarded for their freshman year of college. Winners are determined solely by the quality of their essays. We don't ask for a bio, so when I introduce them today, the information about specific interests, college choices, and career plans comes either from their essays or conversations with them after they won. We offer 3 choices of questions to answer in their essays. This year, all 7 winners picked, how has the COVID epidemic caused you to rethink or revise your plans for college or career? This year's scholarship committee included Kay Byerly, Joyce Lackey, Del Allen, George Spies, Bernd Dürrwachter, Susan Pierce, Ingrid Stromberg, and myself. We read the essays, discussed them, and chose 1 first place winner, 2 for second place, and 4 for third place. We'll have a bit of time after each essay is read for you to ask that student questions, and we might also have more question time at the end. But 7 essays don't leave much to spare. So let's start with first place winner Nina Takahashi, who graduated from Beaverton Southridge High and will attend the University of California at Berkeley. She plans to major in creative writing or film and media studies. I asked the students what totally different major they'd choose, and Nina said pharmacology or molecular toxicology. She's a voracious reader, especially nonfiction. Since she says she's the baby of the family, she's looking forward to the independence that will be a necessity at Berkeley. Nina?
Hi, thank you so much for awarding me this. My essay is called More Than This, and as you already prefaced, I answered the how has the COVID epidemic caused you to rethink or revise your plans for college and career? And I do want to give a small content warning that there is a lot of mention of anti-Asian hate crimes related to the pandemic in this essay. Thank you. March 16th, 2022 was just a few weeks ago. I remember waking up that day feeling sick to my stomach. I painstakingly brushed my teeth and dragged myself to school. And finally, on the drive back home, I cried my heart out through my eyelashes. Most of my peers were confused by my melancholic disposition throughout the day, but 7% of my school's population was existing with a similar weight on their chest. On March 16th, 2021, a white man named Robert Aaron Long walked into an Asian-owned massage parlor in Atlanta, Georgia, and opened fire. He killed 8 people, 6 of whom were Asian women: Sun Chung Park, Hyung Chung Grant, Sun Cha Kim, Yong E Yu, Xiao Jie Tang, and Dao Yo-fang. While gruesome and debilitating, this incident was only one among a sea of thousands like it. Anti-Asian hate crimes have skyrocketed in time with COVID-19 cases due to misinformation and blatant racism. Wounds beneath wounds were opened within the Asian and Pacific Islander community, or the API community for short, and fear paralyzed us. I'll admit that it's strange to write about anti-Asian hate crimes in the past tense. They're still happening, even as the number of coronavirus cases wane. And I'm still afraid that someone who looks a lot like my grandmother will be the martyr plastered across social media. I'm still afraid that my father will get spit on in the streets like my childhood best friend's father did, or that my sister's friend, who's now living in New York City, will be pushed in front of a subway car like Michelle Go. COVID-19 has had detrimental effects on the health and safety of every American, but it has been uniquely painful for the API community. At best, the pandemic spurred new racist behavior, and at worst, it just thrust old behavior in public light. I write all of this exposition because it feels wrong to suddenly discuss revisions to my college plans without acknowledging the role race has played in my experience with the pandemic. More simply, as a biracial Asian American, COVID-19 has hurt me in a strange way. I think it's impossible to separate the dips in my mental health without mentioning the attacks against my community, and the same goes for my career plans. As a child, I was a voracious reader. I devoured every book I could get my hands on, and once I'd picked off all the meat from my classroom library, I began stumbling my way through the Japanese manga my family owned. So I suppose it was only natural that I started wanting to write my own stories. The stories I wrote were the stories I never had growing up. They featured protagonists who were mixed, or whose parents spoke broken English like my father, or who felt pulled between two worlds like many multiracial kids. I wrote to represent the people I am and the people I love. Also, I was 13 the first time I read a book with a half Asian protagonist. And as I scratched away into my leather journals, and once I was in middle school, a Google document, I would think to myself, this is what I meant to do with my life. I think I meant to tell stories bigger than myself. Middle school and high school drained my passion for writing. Personal narratives were exchanged for formulaic literary analyses. The advanced literature we studied was all written by old white men who shared nothing in common with me. My free time disappeared due to competitive gymnastics, and before long, I had stopped writing stories altogether. After abandoning creative writing, I convinced myself that I was meant to be a doctor or a lawyer or something else lucrative that would let me be just another cog in the corporate world. And I tried to convince myself that someone else out there would write the stories about kids who looked like me. The pandemic was the catalyst that changed my mind about my future. When the first national anti-Asian hate crime was reported, my mouth filled with cotton, but I continued on with my day. And then the cell phone videos of assaults flooded my social media feed, and my heart crawled its way out of my throat. The hurt began to eclipse all other feelings. I lost motivation in school and extracurriculars, shutting myself in my room more than ever. And then one day, moved by a force I understood only in its immensity, I opened up a new document and I started typing. I wrote about all of my unaddressed feelings around anti-Asian hate and my countless experiences with racial reckoning, and my boundless fear for the future. And against all odds, the writing helped. Something young and vulnerable in me was assuaged as I shared my writing with close Asian American friends and then all of social media. In retrospect, I truly believe that writing saved my life. In college, I plan to either major or minor in creative writing. I want to keep reconnecting with my childlike passion for storytelling. I want to write books about Asian Americans who so rarely see themselves represented in mainstream media, for people who look like me. I believe that representation is an essential step in building racial literacy and consciousness, and I also think that it's one of the easiest ways to dismantle individual racism. The path I intend to pursue is very different than what I foresaw for myself as a freshman in high school, but then again, the world is fundamentally different from how it was a few years ago too. The COVID-19 pandemic has, in an incredibly roundabout way, reunited me with my love for creative writing. But above all else, it has forced me to remember what I hold dear. Thank you.
That was amazing. And it sounds like you've made some real decision in your life. And
Thank you.
appreciate you sharing that. That was heartfelt and much appreciated. We have a few minutes for questions. I imagine there's a lot of folks thinking about how to react from this lovely essay. Jeff has a question from Friendly House. Come on in, Jeff.
I think that mixed race people is the way the future is going. So I think we can't help but want to have more stories about mixed race experiences. And that might save us from all this prejudice and bias, to recognize that that's the wave of the future, and go in that direction. What do you think?
I agree. I think growing up, I feel like I didn't know a lot of other multiracial families, and I lived both in Japan and the US throughout my life. And in both places, I tended to feel kind of isolated in terms of my racial identity. But I feel like as I get older and as I go into my high school, which ended up being predominantly people of color, I found more and more other multiracial or biracial people like myself. And I think I see a lot of younger kids, like I have neighbors up the street who are also half Japanese and half white. And I can only hope that slowly we become more accepting, I guess, of multiracial people and understand that. Because I think there is kind of I feel like you kind of exist in a liminal space when you're a multiracial individual. There's this feeling of having to straddle multiple groups.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess as that becomes normalized, hopefully kids like myself have an easier time growing up is all I can hope for, because I think I definitely struggled a lot with cultural dissonance as a young child.
Yeah. Thank you. Joyce has a question. Come on in, Joyce.
Nina, you wrote your essay in past tense. These things were happening to Asian Americans. Do you still see that in your daily life?
I do actually. I guess it was maybe a month ago now, but during Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which is May, I was the president of my high school's Asian and Pacific Islander Student Union, and I took us to an event in Portland, which was Oregon Rises Above Hate. And it was like a local event where anybody of any race or ethnicity could come and celebrate Asian and Pacific Islander culture. And even when we were at that event, I had a white woman walk by us and shout at all of our whole group, you people need to stay away from me. Like, you people, like, stay away. Like, we don't want your people here. And I remember I pulled up my little app and I went to the little link that they had written out on their pamphlet of like how to report an anti-Asian microaggression or an anti-Asian hate incident. So I would say it's still happening. That was my first one that I personally experienced, but definitely very prevalent still, I would argue.
Yes. And we have the last question is going to be from Mike. Thank you, Nina. From Mike at Friendly House. Come on in, Mike.
Yeah. The leader of the local Patriot Prayer hate group, Joey Gibson, I believe, is also half Japanese, half American. Do you have any insights about why someone of similar background as you would turn to such activity?
Sorry, I was reading the chat. I don't know. I'm not sure. I guess just trying to find solace in some way, I suppose.
Yeah, I think there might be something, maybe conflict within his family that caused him to act out like this in such an epic way.
I think, I don't know. I guess like I mentioned before, there's honestly like yeah, inner turmoil in some ways. I think I still have issues with feeling comfortable in my own family. And I think that there's like a reason we don't really talk as to some portions of my family as much. I think there's a lot of healing, I would argue, still, and a lot of, I don't know, I still feel like difficulty trying to feel comfortable using certain terms, but things like generational trauma and a lot of unaddressed past issues on both sides of my family that I'm trying to come to terms with, I suppose. And I think a lot of multiracial people or people of color deal with a lot of internalized racism and that sort of thing too.
Well, we're very glad you're going the route you're going right now.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Nina, thank you so much for your essay, heartfelt, and we only wish you the very best as you started at Berkeley this fall.
Thank you so much.
Well done. Well done. Kathy, I'm going to turn it over to you again for our next.
Okay. Our second place winner, Neil Jane, graduated from Beaverton's Westview High and will attend the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. Wharton appealed to him because of its unique program in social responsibility in business. He plans a, quote, socially impactful, unquote, business career. He enjoys yoga and soccer and has coached youth soccer. Neil?
Thank you so much for having me here today. It's an honor to be here today in this call, and just really appreciate this program for awarding scholarships and everything. And yeah, kind of echoing what Nina was saying, similar, answered the same prompt. How has the COVID epidemic caused you to rethink or revise your plans for college and career? And I'll just go ahead and get right into my essay. Was this Costco or an apocalypse? An army of shoppers swarmed around me in a frenzy, fighting for the few remaining packs of Clorox wipes and toilet paper. I entered the wholesale club for my asthmatic 75-year-old grandmother, who I called Aji, who couldn't leave the house because of her extreme risk category for COVID-19. Thinking about others like Aji, I posted an open offer in my neighborhood's forum to deliver some groceries. Within days, neighbors and even strangers flooded me with messages and calls, some nearly hours away. Soon, I really couldn't handle the deliveries on my own, so I began recruiting friends to help out. As the program grew, I decided to call this initiative PDX Concierge. My nonprofit, fueled by high school volunteers, provides free grocery delivery services to the elderly, immunocompromised, and disabled. To create this mission, I started designing flyers, recruited friends, and quickly obtained my driver's license as a 16-year-old to quickly get out and begin delivering groceries to people in need. I formed some strategic partnerships with the OHSU Hospital, Meals on Wheels, Market of Choice, 211, and some local apartment complexes to get the word out. Within days after my first delivery, we were actually on the local news, which served as a call to action to rally some of my peers to get involved. And I was really amazed to see the response of all these high school kids like myself from different areas in Oregon, like Salem, Eugene. We even had someone from Roseburg reach out to join the effort. And as the service expanded, I created a website and got an app going to streamline our order process. And fast forward to today, it's a lot of just leading volunteers, taking the phone calls, maintaining customer relations, maintaining the app and website, and all the other day-to-day operations. I wear many hats. Starting as a neighborhood operation, we've grown to about 100 volunteers across 7 cities in Oregon and have made 750 deliveries. We're featured on many media sources as well, including Good Morning America and MSNBC. But our services today actually differ a lot from the beginnings. Realizing additional unaddressed needs, we partnered with the Oregon Food Bank, for example, to deliver free food boxes to people who are facing food insecurity. We've also gone the extra mile to offer like pharmaceutical pickup, EBT purchases, and even some IT, handyman, and cleaning services. For example, Andrew, one of our volunteers, baked brownies and provided Zoom report for an isolated senior who needed some help with technology. While I took out this one client, her name was Eileen, for trash because she just had an injured foot. Those instances reflect some of our complementary services. During this time, I've really learned a great deal, though, through self-reflection, realization, and interactions with some of my clients. For one, I discovered that I really have an innate entrepreneurial mindset. I find joy in overcoming obstacles, setting and achieving goals, taking risks, working with the volunteers and clients, and just learning from mistakes. While I may have just, when I was a kid, may enjoyed playing video games or just watching TV shows, I really find it more exhilarating now to serve and pursue the next opportunity to keep growing PDX Concierge. Simply put, I really just live and breathe PDX Concierge. Another key lesson I learned about myself is that I'm surprisingly good at grocery shopping and locating esoteric grocery items. I mean, whoever said that us teenagers don't know how to shop? As the pandemic and health crisis that humanity has suffered over the past year ebbs and flows, I realize my newfound aspiration is to continue to serve my community at an even higher level in college. Post-college, I hope to pursue a career in business and entrepreneurship with the focus on social impact, hoping to start my own socially responsible company. I discovered that I really have an inherent zeal for the intersection between business and social impact after some activities in high school, like joining DECA, a local summer internship, and ultimately founding my company, PDX Concierge. PDX Concierge has made me who I am and shown me that entrepreneurship really aligns with my interests. By obtaining a college degree, I will be able to pursue even larger philanthropic endeavors in the future. I look forward to gaining formal training in business, finance, entrepreneurship, which will allow me to grow my charitable efforts. Ultimately, I hope to pursue business and other ventures to continue fostering positive social impact. The Portland Humanist Scholarship will not only be supporting my education and passion, but also be contributing to the community that I fostered through my connections and volunteers. By investing in me, you'll be investing in my education and PDX Concierge so I can continue to do what I love. Thank you.
But how did you ever have time to go to school and do all that? That's a full-time job.
Yeah, so luckily, school in March of 2020, school was pretty much all online. So had a lot of time, and I was even on the Zoom calls. I was just kind of answering the phone during class because it wasn't too strenuous or anything. But yeah, it was mostly done over like the summer and throughout school. So luckily, like with the flexibility of school closing and going online, I had a lot more time, and same with all my peers.
Yes. But did you apply for grants? I mean, what did you do?
So yeah, we did apply like for some grants, and we also got a lot of like community support. So a lot of individuals would be sending donations. And a lot of it was volunteer run, so a lot of people were just willing to fund their own gas, which was really inspiring. And yeah, a lot of donations and grants, and just the volunteer basis as well, the program.
Yeah. You really found a niche that needed filling, and you saw that. That's pretty amazing.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's my understanding, Neil, that there are more and more programs at the undergraduate and graduate level in how to run a nonprofit. And I think my question is, you did say that you got quite a number of donations, but I've never understood exactly how nonprofits make enough money to live on. Do you have much insight into that?
Yeah, I mean, so since we are like nonprofit, like we're not like trying to like generate the revenue, but luckily a lot of, like I said, yeah, a lot of it's been through like the grants and donations. So we've just kind of been surviving on that. And a lot of the individual volunteers like run on a volunteer basis. So we're able to like reimburse them through the gas with our funds and the grants and keep going. So yeah, a lot of it is just applying through grants and donations, and that's kind of just how nonprofits operate, if that answers your question.
Yeah. There's a comment from Nina, our first reader, just congratulating you, and please make sure you read that. And she said you're going to do great at the in school at UPenn. Alex, can you come in, please?
Hey, I was wondering if you've made any efforts to partner with local businesses like a Target or Safeway or anything like that to see if they would be willing to make donations. I know they throw away a lot of their expired food. and what those efforts look like if you have.
Yeah, so we have made some efforts to partner, like I mentioned. We have like tried to reach out to some of those bigger corporations like Target and Fred Meyer, but what I kind of found is that these corporations are very large, and it's something that they may not be willing to do at a local level. So that's why it kind of made more sense for us to like go with more local stores, like Market of Choice, for example. They gave us a big donation, and we were talking about possibly using some of their leftover food, and they like refer us to people who need delivery services. And then we've also made partnerships with like the 211 information line and like different hospitals. So that was kind of like the biggest success point for us, because oftentimes with the corporations, it's all about the money for the corporations. They're looking to partner with things like Instacart and things that give them serious commissions and money. So we kind of found more success with like the local organizations and stores.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anne from Friendly House has a question. Come on in, Anne.
Sure. Just wanted to know, do you have a GoFundMe site?
Mhm.
We actually do not. We did, like, I think like when it was first getting started. Now we just have like a donation page on our website, and I can include a link to the website. But luckily, like we haven't had to do any serious fundraising, because we've had enough support and donation to like fund what we're doing, and a lot of it is volunteer operated. So we've been doing well. But I'll definitely include the website in the chat if anyone wants to pursue, like look
Thank
into it
you.
further.
That would be lovely. Yes, please
That'd be
do
great.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Neil, I think that's the end of our questions. I'm so, these two essays it just were amazing. And the work that you're doing is so important. And it sounds like you're not stopping. I mean, you're going to go to school and continue this?
Yeah, so my hope is I am going to school, and I do want to oversee it at a larger level, and I plan to pass it on to like a younger student at my
Okay.
school who can
Mhm.
take some of the more daily operations under control, and maybe even take it to new heights and everything. But I still want to be involved at a large level.
Very good. Well, we all just wish you the very best, and thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Kathy,
you.
back to you. All right. Kathy, back to you.
Third place winner Macy Deckert graduated from Beaverton High and will attend the University of Oregon. U of O was the perfect choice because she plans to major in marketing and business, particularly sports team marketing. She likes to read and travel and is concerned about climate change. Macy?
Come on in, Macy.
Hi, thank you so much for awarding me this scholarship. I chose the same prompt as the others. How has the COVID epidemic caused you to rethink or revise your plans for college and career? So I will just get right into it. Our individual actions and collective responses to the COVID epidemic is in many ways like a global sociology experiment. The virus is indiscriminate in its attacks, but the same cannot be said of our responses. Many people who have power and influence use the epidemic as a platform for targeted messaging manipulation and to solidify a cultural brand and identity. They wielded the virus like a hammer to drive a wedge through reason and science and to erode our faith in public institutions and one another. We watched this play out over the past 2 years and are living in its wake. I tried to keep up with the data and science as it evolved and let that be my guide. But sometimes it was hard to know what was right. I had to really think about what I believed in and what my response would be. My immediate response was to help the elderly get vaccinated. That experience and the entire COVID epidemic has changed how I will approach my studies in college and how I will live my life after college. My immediate response to COVID after social distancing, virtual school, and mask wearing was to help those who needed it most, the elderly, access the vaccine when it first became possible. Giving back to my community is a value my parents have instilled in me for as long as I can remember. So I felt a sense of responsibility to help where I could. I knew elderly people were having problems finding and signing up for vaccination appointments, so my friends and I seized the chance to offer our service. We placed an announcement on the Nextdoor app offering to help people sign up for the vaccine. Immediately after posting, requests came flooding in. I would be on the phone for hours walking people through how to create a password, which was harder than you might expect, and all the way up to securing an appointment with an exact time and place to get vaccinated. Word spread quickly, and the next thing we knew, we were helping friends, relatives, and even an entire church of nuns. It was the most rewarding feeling when they would express their gratitude and tell us how they haven't left their house in an entire year because of how scared they were. We knew our efforts were not only benefited by the individuals we helped, but also by the entire community, because from a scientific standpoint, it was important to get as many people vaccinated as quickly as possible. At this point, I plan to study marketing in college. Marketing is a field that uses data and social science to persuade people to behave in a certain way, often to do something or buy something, through the use of targeted messaging, information, and persuasion. Some might even call it manipulation. The power of marketing and branding is strong, as we've seen through the pandemic, and can be used to better our communities or tear them apart. The lessons I learned from my individual response to the epidemic and our collective response have changed the future I imagined for myself. They pushed me to be more aware of what is going on in the world around me and created a stronger sense of purpose. I wanted to use my education and power of marketing in ways that were beneficial to society. Having witnessed how some used their influence and elements of marketing in the pandemic, I hope to be able to recognize when the power of marketing is not being used honestly or for a good purpose. Just like I use my technological skills to help the elderly, I see myself using my marketing skills to empower people and causes. I'm very passionate about protecting the environment after taking AP Environmental Science class my junior year of high school. It really sparked my interest in wanting to work to protect the oceans and combat global warming. I could use the power of marketing to educate others about the harmful effects of global warming and pollution in the ocean and its creatures, to persuade people to change their daily lives and purchasing behaviors to produce less pollution and fewer carbon emissions. I know my thoughts and opinions may change as I get older, but I hope I will always remember my experiences and responses from the COVID epidemic and stay true to what they've taught me.
This is amazing. I tried to get, it was horrid to get
Oh, I
the
know.
vaccine. Horrid.
It was so
Horrid.
hard. I know.
And that what I have to, folks, if you have a question, type it in the chat, but how did you ever get this idea that I think I need to help people? I mean, how did that happen?
Well, my own grandma asked me to help her, and it wasn't like available to us yet, so I didn't know how hard it was. But I went on and I was like, this is challenging even for me, who's been with technology my whole life. Like, I've grown up with it. So I was like, other people have to be struggling with this.
Yes.
So.
But did you expect to have this deluge? I know you did get deluged, because I bet once the word came out, someone could help. People were all over this.
Yeah, I didn't. Sorry, go ahead. Okay.
Well, I'm curious about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't expect for it to blow up, especially since we posted on Nextdoor. Like, it's more of like a community, like little like bubble-ish type of thing. But word spread really fast to like family members. We were helping people in different states, and like just everyone, once we helped them and they got it set up, they wanted to help their friend. So it really blew up.
Yeah. Yeah. What did your because it sounds like you're quite close to your grandmother.
Yeah.
What did she think of all this? She must have been just so happy.
Yeah, she was so proud of me, and my friend who helped me do it, who knows really well too. So yeah.
That just, everyone just complained so much about that, and you didn't complain. You just did something. I'm sure you complained a little bit, but you did something. Yes. And let's see, any questions coming in? I think everybody has got to be overwhelmed with these essays and what you kids these young adults have done. I was feeling pretty pessimistic the last few weeks, and you've just given me such a lift of, the world's going to be fine. Stop worrying. You talked a little bit about wanting to take, with environmental issues and using marketing. Where did I have to only agree with you? Where do you see this? How do you see this happening? What would you do?
Well, I've taken marketing classes like throughout high school, so I know how to like brand things and make things persuasive for like target audiences. So to target people who want to help change, like even like for fundraisers and smaller things like that, I think it could help like get the word out.
Right. Because the word out now is it's global warming. I think that so much of the, 2 scientists out of a million say there's no global warming. And that seems to be the 2 that get all the press. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
For
this
sure.
is so appreciated that your willingness to do all this, and good luck in school.
Thank
Oh,
you.
how exciting for you.
Thanks.
I think all of us here, we're a lot of gray hairs, but we were where you were once, and brings us a lot of joy. Oh, Mike from Friendly House has a question. Come on in, Mike.
I have a question. I just hope I know how to ask it.
Yes.
Yeah, I get a lot of spam on my messages and in my email and my Facebook, such. And you're going into you're touching on a profession that is becoming quite an annoyance to a lot of people out there. Just wondering, how are you approaching it to where you can make it more appealing and get more positive response?
Yeah, I feel like marketing right now is really hands-on. Like you said, spam. Like I get 50 texts a day trying to tell me to buy something or sign up for this. I think a more laid-back approach and just like let people come to you because those people are interested in what you're selling would be, sorry, a better tactic.
Yeah, because hands-on for me to most marketers I see is like,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Joyce, we do have time for one more question to Macy. Do you have the question? Come on in.
Well, I was just wondering what I did not hear what university you're going to and whether you chose because of a great marketing program.
Yeah, I'm going to University of Oregon, and I did choose it because of its sports. I've also played sports my entire life, and like I want to do something like that as well. So their sports marketing program is really well known, obviously, with the Nike connection and like things like that. So it's just a good choice for my main major. But yeah, I want to like minor in environmental studies or something like that too.
Bravo. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Good luck. Yes. Macy, thank you so much for your willingness to share your essay with us. And thanks for the good work to all these folks that needed to get vaccinated. A lot of shots in arms because of your good work. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kathy, back to you. Well done, Miss Macy. Kathy, back to you.
Thanks. The third place winner, Abby Winkler, graduated from Portland's Grant High and will be in the honors program at Pacific Lutheran University. She plans a biology major and career in public health. If she had to choose a different major, she'd pick political science. 2 things that drew her to Pacific Lutheran are the ability to continue playing soccer there and their study abroad program at Oxford University. I'm drooling. She enjoys hiking and reading nonfiction. Abby?
Hi, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I feel super honored to be here. I also did the same prompt as all of the previous speakers. How has the COVID epidemic caused you to rethink or revise your plans for college and career? So I'll start reading. The COVID pandemic has taught me many lessons, but I've been especially affected by the illumination of problems in our healthcare system. In the next several weeks, the US is expected to hit 1 million deaths, many of which were preventable. As we grapple with this massive tragedy, nothing has changed. Where is the social reckoning? Where is the massive reform to ensure this never happens again? Millions of Americans have lost a parent, grandparent, friend, or partner, and yet masks and vaccines have remained partisan issues for the entirety of the pandemic. If 1 million deaths doesn't unite a country, what will? While I've always had a passion for healthcare and medicine, the past 2 years have opened my eyes to the corruption and discrimination present in the healthcare system and encouraged me to pursue a career in public health. COVID-19 was obviously devastating for the country as a whole in both case numbers and death rates. On average, it reduced the US life expectancy by 1.5 years. However, it was particularly bad for minority groups. Black and Hispanic people lost more than 3 years in life expectancy, while white people lost only 1.2. The difference was especially drastic in the early months of the pandemic. As of July 20th, 2020, the hospitalization rates and death rates per 10,000 respectively were 24.6 and 5.6 for Black patients, 30.4 and 5.6 for Hispanic patients, 15.9 and 4.3 for Asian patients, and 7.4 and 2.3 for white patients. Obviously, this is not solely the fault of the healthcare system. These statistics can also be attributed to socioeconomic factors, underlying health conditions resulting from food deserts, environmental factors, etc., and disparities in access to care. However, racial disparities in health outcomes is not unique to the pandemic. Black women are disproportionately burdened by chronic conditions such as anemia, cardiovascular disease, and obesity. They also have consistently lower life expectancies, as well as higher rates of maternal mortality. Again, these problems can largely be attributed to structural inequalities in the country as a whole, but we can't ignore how the healthcare system has also contributed to their prevalence. Not only are there disparities along racial lines, but for other identity groups as well. For example, I'm currently doing a research project on gender bias in clinical research, and I've learned about how the exclusion of women in clinical trials has greatly impacted their health outcomes. This has been the case for centuries because testing on pregnant women or even fertile women has often been considered taboo. For that reason, they have been largely excluded from research. A 2005 study found that 8 out of 10 prescription drugs were withdrawn from the US market because of women's health issues, which were not previously discovered due to lack of testing and gender-based analysis. It also affects our knowledge of diseases and symptoms. Although cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death for both women and men, women have been excluded from a number of key studies providing the basis for much of our current understanding of this type of disease. This lack of knowledge about symptoms unique to women leads to misdiagnosis and worsened treatment. These disparities are also present for people in the LGBTQ+ community. Not only is there a lack of knowledge, they also face discrimination and stigma. A 2020 study found that 28% of transgender respondents reported postponing or avoiding necessary medical care, and 40% of transgender respondents reported postponing or avoiding getting preventative screenings out of fear of experiencing discrimination. Addressing discrimination in healthcare needs to be a vital part of this reform. Of all career fields to center humanism, healthcare is arguably the most important. Health affects every part of a person's life, their ability to work, their financial status, their quality of life, etc. Every person has the right to healthcare despite their ability to pay astronomical prices for treatment. Every person has the right to walk into a hospital or clinic and feel like their well-being is valued, regardless of their gender, race, or sexuality. Our current system does not provide those guarantees. Every aspect of someone's identity affects the care they receive. We base our knowledge on the standard white male and believe those conditions to be universal, despite so many biological differences. This fact means more importance is placed on the health of those individuals and disregards the health of so many others. Because of this, our system is inherently non-humanist and inequitable. While I don't believe I can single-handedly solve these problems, COVID has opened my eyes to the issues we've created and made me interested in a career addressing those problems.
You hit it right on the head as far as getting this right.
Thank you.
Yes. And you're speaking to a room full of humanists and really gave us a lesson in what it means to be a humanist. That's not an easy thing to do. I think health disparity has been an issue that is taken to back burner in often. We have healthcare. We have the best healthcare in the world. Well, it's not true in many cases. Yeah. I worked for many years at Legacy Emmanuel Hospital, and that is kind of I worked at the burn center there, and that's traditionally has been kind of the common people's hospital, the go-to hospital, and it's something I did with pride. I worked at Emmanuel with pride. When I was an occupational therapist, I am still, but you talk about a career that you might consider going into because of what you learned this last year. What are some of the careers you've looked at? What are you thinking?
Well, I was originally looking at epidemiology because this was before the pandemic started. I was taking like a biomedical sciences class and learning about vaccines. And at the same time, I was taking AP Human Geography and learning about the spread of diseases. And so that kind of intersected in this really cool way.
Yes.
And then a month later, COVID started, and suddenly there was like this real life case study, which was super fascinating. And so I'm still super interested in that career field, but also sort of public health policy stuff like the CDC or the OHA, some of the work that they do at those organizations.
Wonderful. Be wonderful. There, I know the epidemiologists that work at Emmanuel, they were held in such high regard because they could problem solve things out. We had an issue at the burn center where we were just getting these horrible infections, and we couldn't get a handle on it. The nurses were working so hard not to cross and to contaminate, and it still was happening. And they found the epidemiologists came in and they figured it out for us, and hold them in extremely high regard. And because they'll problem solve something out, and especially when it's just the unusual, what's going on. They really are they're investigators. They're better than any private investigator you'd ever want to hire. You did such a good job explaining exactly what we have to look at, that there probably isn't too many questions. You're right. I mean, how can you argue with what you said? I also work out at here we go. Jeff has a question. Come in, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you very much for your essay. And I worked for a few years in a program that helped families with kids with asthma improve the home environment to reduce the asthma attacks. And I was wondering and asking internally in the county health department or in environmental health, because I saw some report where there was a higher incidence of asthma among African Americans, and the people in our program, just a very small proportion were African Americans. So, just thinking about this and trying to advocate for that over time, other people in the department, of course, were tasked with marketing, and it made me think of the previous essay about marketing. But I'm just thinking about, well, how would those people be reached? And there's so many parts to marketing, and one part might just be visiting families and checking in on them, and families that don't have the resources to maybe watch TV or see other ways we do mass marketing. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I definitely think community outreach is super important. I think something that they focused on with the COVID pandemic, which doesn't reach everyone, but I think it's been a good start, is reaching people through schools, especially like lower income students. They've provided a lot of free testing and free food for those individuals. And, everyone, or not everyone, but a large percentage of children are in schools. So I think that's a great method. I don't know the best ways to reach families who wouldn't have kids in schools or in like a community program such as that, but a lot of community outreach, I would say.
Thank you. There's a question from Gretchen Quid. Do you have any family members in related fields in healthcare?
Yes, both my parents are doctors. My mom's an OB/GYN and my dad's a high-risk OB. So I've definitely been surrounded by medicine as I've grown up. It's been definitely a large part of like our family life, but yeah.
Your parents have gotten called out in the middle of the night, I'm sure, both of them.
Oh, for sure. That's a common occurrence. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Both of them. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's amazing. So they must be really pleased that you're not only seeing the importance of U.S. medicine, but the fact that so many people aren't getting taken care of as well as they should be.
For sure. My mom has done a lot of work with that as well. And I think she thinks it's super important as well. So we've definitely had conversations about that.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So I imagine they're kind of pushing, I mean, not, but they would love to have you continue in the medical career as well. I can imagine that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Oh, thank you. That will be memorable. We can only wish you the very best as you continue your education, and it would be fun to have a meeting sometime when, 4 years from now, and get you all to come back and we just hear how things have gone. That would be lovely, because you all have bright futures ahead of you. Oh, Kathy, I don't know if I can take any more. I'm just
Don't want to find that lady a Kleenex box.
I'm just here crying. Yeah. So I'm going to give it back to you, and here we go.
Third place winner, Kayla Wolf, graduated from Tualatin High and will attend Oregon State University. She was drawn to OSU by the ability to have a double major there in elementary education and, quote, human development and family sciences, unquote. If she had to choose a different major, it would be music, especially vocal performance. Kayla.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. And I am honored to have received this scholarship. Like everyone else, I chose the prompt, how has the COVID-19 epidemic caused you to rethink your career plans? And so here is my essay. For the safety of our community, our bookstore will be temporarily closed. We apologize for any inconvenience. We're sorry, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, library books are unavailable for checkout at this time. Every library and bookstore website I visited during the summer of 2020 echoed the same unfortunate message. Accessing books would not be an easy feat due to COVID-related closures. I was personally disappointed, but then I began thinking about the greater challenge this presented for elementary students. As the daughter of a second grade teacher, I knew it was critical that children have exposure to literature, as reading and being read to supports their language development. Learning to read is the key to knowledge. Since children are our future leaders and will be faced with the task of solving world problems, including global pandemics, I felt compelled to take initiative and help them access books. While assisting my mom with creating her virtual Bitmoji bookshelf in preparation for distance learning in the fall, I was making decisions on how to arrange items when an idea struck me. I could create a virtual Bitmoji bookshelf for elementary students in my school district. I immediately began working on this plan, generating book lists that include multiple genres and diverse cultures, recording myself reading these stories aloud on a video platform, posting them on the bookshelf, then adding other reading resource links where children could read books independently. I knew I couldn't help every child in the world, and I needed to start small. So I began with a place that held fond memories from my childhood, my former elementary school. I reached out to the principal, introduced myself, shared my concerns, and outlined my plan to support students at the school. He welcomed my idea, expressed support for my vision. He launched my virtual bookshelf for students' families to access, and that is how Bucky's Bookshelf came to be. Throughout the summer, I continued creating and posting videos and tracked the view count so I could monitor student interest. When the views increased, it was evident that more readers were needed to support my efforts. So I recruited volunteers to read stories, which I uploaded to the bookshelf. I wanted to include volunteer readers from different cultures, providing diverse models for young children to relate to personally. Initially, I invited my friends to participate, but as the bookshelf evolved, I expanded the invitation to my school's Key Club. As a staff writer for my school newspaper, I also wrote an article promoting the bookshelf and invited my audience to join me. For all volunteers to be clear on the objective and understand how to best to support this project, I created and shared a document outlining the video procedure, as well as book lists to ensure a variety of books were recorded.
I also solicited feedback from my high school child development teacher to provide the best reading experience possible. As the demand for reading adventures grew, so too did my commitment to Bucky's Bookshelf. Bucky's Bookshelf continues to offer stories to young readers. I will soon be assisting my child development teacher in creating a virtual bookshelf for Tualatin High School's in-house preschool. Moving forward, I will also continue my efforts as a student at Oregon State University, expanding my virtual bookshelf for the students at the university's Child Development Center. Regardless of bookstore and library status as the pandemic continues, and as a result of children's increased technology use, I feel this virtual bookshelf will benefit many future readers. I always envisioned myself in a career involving music. I felt passionate about pursuing a music therapy degree and working with children. However, my experiences during the pandemic led me to reconsider my future career path. Because of the pandemic, I participated in my school's online learning program all year last year. This allowed me to observe my mom teach her second grade online class. Whenever my schedule permitted, I joined her online, supporting individuals and small groups in Zoom breakout rooms as needed. This experience, along with Bucky's Bookshelf, strengthened my passion for working with children. I am confident that my future career lies in a classroom where I can share my innovative ideas, take initiative to solve problems, and work together with fellow educators in meeting the needs of students. Although I am now fully committed to obtaining a degree in elementary education, I know that music will always be a part of my life, a passion I can share with my students, and will hold a special place in my heart. As the pandemic and future issues present new challenges, I am steadfast in my desire to find creative solutions with the goal of making a difference one child at a time. Thank you.
I can't, what I'm finding is all these young students saw a problem and then just did something out of their own heads. I mean, I didn't even know there was such a thing as a virtual bookshelf, and now I know that. Now I know that. So, what happened? So this bookshelf,
yeah,
is you reading books to kids? Is part of it?
Yeah, so what I did was I found a video recording platform, and I was able to find books either through my local library, like ebooks, or just physical books I had lying around the house. And I was able to record myself reading those books. And then I was able to just link them into the virtual bookshelf. And so then when the kids clicked on the links, they were able to just listen to somebody read to them.
It's wonderful. Families are so busy right now, and that then kids need to be read to. They have to hear language.
Yes.
What a gift. How many books are in your bookshelf now with all these volunteers?
Oh, there are quite a few. I would say right now we have about 15 to 20 books. We're still expanding it, but yeah, and yeah.
This isn't a simple recording. You have to have the right tone. You have to have the right recording. It's wonderful.
Absolutely.
So the one you've developed, will you be, as you move to these other centers, you did it for the elementary school that you attended. Now
Yes.
you're going to move to daycares and no, not daycares, preschools.
Yes.
Will you do different books for them? Is that part of the?
Yes. So my child development teacher actually requested at the beginning of the year that after I graduated, I share the bookshelf with her. And so I've been working with her to be able to develop this bookshelf for young children, preschool age children, and then also to find some age appropriate books that they can just listen to whenever they like.
To do a good recording takes hours of preparation. It's not turning on a video. This is different. This is a completely different thing. And I really want folks to understand this. Not just, I'll just record. It has to be very clear.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's wonderful. We've got some questions. John, I think John has a question. Joyce and John, whoever has a question, come on in.
Yes, thank you, Kayla. I especially want to commend you on your ability to speak.
Yes.
Thank you.
This is an audience you might be aware of as a rather older audience, and as we get older, our hearing isn't quite what it used to be. I found you very easy to understand, and I really appreciate that, and I hope you use that in the future.
Thank you.
And I have
And Joyce has a question.
I do too. I realize this is a sort of a monumental change or a monumental amendment to your idea, but have you given any thought to making this site interactive, to giving the children a chance to respond, or is that just too overwhelming?
I have given it some thought. For a time, I did allow it on the Loom, the platform that I was using to record these books. And I just found that there were some times when, young children just didn't quite know the right way to use it. And so there were some not so great things going on. So we ended up having to disable that. But yes, it's definitely something I thought of, just, not just how do kids, read, watching me or somebody else read the books, but how could they respond to this and actually interact with this? And we've also been bringing outside resources too. So just being able to, we've linked places like there's many virtual books that kids can access through different websites. And so we've been linking those in there as well. But just any resources that kids might find helpful if they would like to read or like someone to read to them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's wonderful.
Wonderful. Wonderful. There's so many people leaving education. They've just found it brutal. And the fact that you are still looking at the career as something, oh yeah, I want in, that just gives me such hope, that this world's going to be a good place. Gretchen, you have a question. Come on in. Oh no, she has a question. I'm going to read it. Were you read to a lot by your mom? Were you read to as a little girl?
Oh yes, almost all the time. We would often frequent the local library, and my mom would just spend time just sitting to me, reading me bedtime stories, and just whenever she could, she just wanted me to develop a love of books and just being able to have that appreciation.
It's wonderful. Wonderful. What's your favorite? What is your favorite childhood story, or what childhood?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I would say. So have you ever heard the Mr. Putter and Tabby series? It's by Cynthia Rylant.
Okay, no, I haven't.
But yeah, my mom uses it a lot in her classroom. And
what's it called again? Mr.
Putter, Putter, and Tabby.
And I think we can just thank you so much for a wonderful essay. Very much appreciated. Yes. All right. Yes, Kathy, go ahead. We have time for you to tell us a little bit about.
I'll just say briefly.
Yeah.
He's not only the first in his family to go to college, he's the first in his family born in the US. And he's acutely aware of how COVID hit people disparately, depending on ethnic backgrounds. So, for example, he had relatives in Mexico who just could not afford some of the things that people here could in the way of treatments and hospital care and things of that sort. So his family here had to try to help those still in Mexico financially to survive COVID. And he also was acutely aware of how difficult it was to find information and get immunizations and get treatment if you didn't understand the language well. So he was involved with lots and lots of large-scale sessions for members of the Latinx community to learn more about COVID and what they could do to help themselves, where resources were. And he interacted with legislators and other more local officials to make sure people had as much information as possible, regardless of their ability to understand English.
Wonderful.
So I wish we had him to read his essay, but we don't.
And maybe he'd be willing to do it as a reading some Sunday, and that's a possibility. We could see. Thank you. Kath, could you repeat one more time the members of your committee? Because I know you spent hours and hours of work to come up with the questions and then to review all the submissions and also get the word out.
Kay Byerly, Joyce Lackey, Del Allen, George Spees from London. We had to work around his schedule and ours so that we would meet at times that it wasn't midnight in London.
Yes.
Brent Durvester, Susan Pierce, Ingrid Stromberg, and myself. And I wanted to say that there's more information on our website about the scholarship program. It's available under the heading Outreach. We'll tell you more about the winners and about how we do it and how long we've done it. And there's a button for contributions.
How many, where does the applications go? Who is eligible to apply?
It's a tricky question. It's high school seniors in public high schools in the Portland metropolitan area, but we can't possibly reach all the Portland metropolitan area schools. So we have a list we've been using for many years. It's about 42 schools. They're in Southwest Washington as well as Portland. They range from Hillsborough to Tigard. What we do is we reach out to the college counselors in those schools. In fact, after we chose the winners, I emailed each of those counselors of the schools of the winning students and told them that they had won, and they were really interested in that.
Really? Very good.
So it gets better year by year in what ever closer ties we have with those college counselors. Also, University of Oregon has a database for high school students, only in Oregon, not Washington, of course. But we post information about our scholarship there with a link to the application form. And we have to limit the counties. We have to limit it to Multnomah, Washington, and Clackamas counties for the same reason, that we can't reach out to absolutely everybody. But we work through them as well as the counselors. And of course, anyone who goes on our website can say, oh, here's information about a scholarship application. We post the application forms on the website in the right season. So does that?
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. I do see, Ranga, that you have a question. Can you still come in and ask?
Yes.
I have an observation.
Yes, I have an observation. I find that both this year and in previous years, the overwhelming majority of the winners have been young women. And I think it's a good thing, because I do feel that more women in this field will bring about changes faster and better ones, and hope that this can continue. But I have a question to Kathy and the scholarship committee. Among the competitors who are submitting these essays, what is the gender ratio of the young boys and girls?
I haven't a clue. We don't look at that. We just read those essays. And in fact, sometimes we don't know from a name whether it's male or female. We used to ask for copies of their driver's licenses just to verify who they were, but then we stopped doing that. It wasn't very useful. So unless it's clearly a female name, we wouldn't know. Likewise, we don't look at ethnic background and wouldn't necessarily know unless it's mentioned in the essay, as some were in this case. But we try to keep it as pure as possible in terms of what they're studying, what they're doing, and how they answered the question we posed.
Another comment is that in the media, both press, TV, and everywhere, we hear so much about cruelty, violence, bigotry, and so on. But we hardly ever hear news of the good things being done with that. And hopefully, if that is done, I think it will create a change. And I'm sure that more of these young women coming in would be sort of catalyst for these changes. It may be slow, but hopefully there will be steady progress.
Yes, yes, and there's certainly, Ranga, we certainly have got a group of 7 wonderful young people that have got a bright future and are work doers. They're doers. They took COVID and said, we're going to make things better. I just was amazed by those essays. We're going to make things better. Sorry, Suzanne, can you come in?
Thank you. Thanks very much, Val and the committee. It's such a wonderful chance for us to meet young people, first of all, and to learn what's going on a little bit. And I was just so appreciative of that. That's really good. I wanted to know the amount of money we're giving away, and we probably could use some more. So what are the money allotments?
We gave a total of $11,000. The first place was 3,000 this year.
3,000 and then 1,000s.
Wait, we'll talk.
2,000, and then 4 1,000s.
Yeah.
4 1,000s. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're able to raise that every year?
That's a complicated question.
Yeah.
We're in the process now of discussing how the money flows, to what extent it comes to general funds and to what extent it's earmarked for scholarship program. So that's, get back to us in a few months on that.
There is an item on the agenda for the board meeting next week about that. So keep your eyes open.
Joyce, thank you, Suzanne. Joyce, come on in. You had a comment or a question. This will be our last one.
Yeah.
I just want to say that we had the largest number of absolutely wonderful essays that we have ever had. And I think part of that may have been that, as some of the students mentioned, COVID kept them home quite a bit during some of the months. And they felt that they had a little more time that way. But this was a difficult decision. And there were more essays that were not quite at the quality of these, but were, again, about excellent projects and excellent work. And so it was a very fun year in a way to be grading and assigning, assessing essays.
Wonderful. Thank you.
It varies from year to year what they write about. When the program first started out, there was just one question that we asked. And then we decided we would get better results or more interesting results if we gave them a choice. So we started asking, write on one of these 3 questions. And because COVID is COVID, this year, every single one of the winners wrote about the COVID in response to the COVID question.